So I'm wondering, how do you talk, how do you approach this topic of obesity, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's an excellent question. And it's it's unfortunately such a sticking point, and I think a conflict, because I think sometimes what happens, like you're saying, is that even if people can relate to some of the tenets of like the health at every size movement, they get really stuck, when it comes to this idea of, but what is that promoting? And is that really okay for me? And what about health? And, all those kinds of questions. And I mean, a few things I think that, so in full disclosure, I'm definitely a proponent of these movements. I mean, particularly health at every size. Um, I think that it's been really misunderstood in a lot of places and among a lot of groups. I think that the real essence of that movement, and as well as others, and true body positivity, is the idea that bodies are inherently good and worthy regardless of size, shape, even health status, and that there's a way for us to nurture our own bodies, and maybe like culturally kind of nurture the acceptance of all bodies, regardless of body shape, weight, or size. And so I think most of us wouldn't disagree with that, I don't think. So this idea of like the glorification of obesity, or that sort of thing, just like doesn't, I think it misses the point, and it's more coming from a place of fear. I think there's still a lot of fear around, fatness or body diversity. That what happens if everyone just sort of like does what they want instead of, and I think that doesn't jive with the reality, which is that, body size, just like in any animal species, like exists on a continuum. There will always be people who are larger. There will always be people who are smaller. We actually have relatively little impact over what our kind of genetically predisposed body size is. If we're all sort of, doing what's most like nourishing to ourselves, feeding ourselves in the most nourishing way and moving our bodies and all of that, then, we are, being true to where we should sort of naturally be. So I think sometimes it gets kind of, HAES isn't meant to be, or health at every size, or any of these things. At their heart, they're not really meant to be like a health program anyway. They're really meant to be like a social justice movement, that helps to say that at the very basis, that all people deserve, love, respect, care, access to, healthy food, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a complicated issue. I know we're not going to like solve it today, but it's definitely a complicated issue. And I know people have really strong feelings.